Think of Jane Austen, and you likely picture elegant drawing rooms, polite dances, and sweeping romances ending in perfect marriages. But that image ignores the teenager who wrote her first stories in the family barn. Austen's earliest surviving notebooks, known as her juvenilia, are packed with ferociously funny, wicked parodies of the literature of her day. It was a laboratory of gleeful savagery. She mocked a society with a very cold reality. In Regency England, a woman without independent wealth had no legal standing and no property rights. Marriage was a strict economic survival tactic. This realism is built on rejection, first of the literary tropes of her time, and later of the social path laid out for her. Austen applied a sharp sociological lens to the world she was born into, using her fiction to deconstruct its absurdities. To understand her first rebellion, look at what she was reading. Late 18th century England was dominated by two genres: sentimental novels featuring heightened emotion and constant weeping, and Gothic fiction filled with crumbling castles and supernatural terror. The teenage Austen responded with blunt irony. Her early sketches are filled with absurd plots, where characters faint constantly and fortunes disappear overnight. This tracks her character development. Wild, one-dimensional figures served as prototypes. A stick-figure reckless heroine evolves into a detailed Lydia Bennet, grounded in real social consequence. Similarly, cartoonish caricatures morph into figures like Mr. Collins, retaining comic ridiculousness, but integrated into a believable social world. Her juvenilia was a deliberate teardown of the storytelling rules of her era. Breaking those conventions early on gave her the space to build the restrained, highly disciplined narrative voice she used as an adult. That literary clarity was matched by a harsh, real-world education. At age 20, Austen had a brief, lively flirtation with a young Irishman named Tom Lefroy. But Lefroy's family sent him away to prevent a financially unsuitable match, giving Austen a first-hand lesson in the brutal economics of love. 7 years later, she faced her ultimate turning point. A wealthy heir named Harris Bigwither proposed to her. She accepted, but overnight she reconsidered and withdrew her acceptance. That single decision guaranteed a life of financial precarity. To maintain her autonomy, she spent the rest of her life living as a dependent in other people's houses, without a home or income of her own. Yet that dependent status gave her a unique vantage point. Because she sat outside the institution of marriage, she assessed the Regency marriage market with pragmatic clarity. Austen used irony to map the terrain where class and money dictate romantic choice. At the center of this Venn diagram, marriage functions as a mechanism for economic survival. When her characters negotiate a match, they are negotiating their existence. Remaining outside the domestic structure of marriage allowed her to scrutinize the rigid systems her contemporaries were bound by. In 1809, Austen moved to a modest cottage in Chawton, Hampshire. This is the physical space where her two rebellions merged. She combined the unhinged satirical energy of her youth with the sober economic realities of her adulthood to draft her greatest works. Here, she perfected a technique known as free indirect discourse. This is a method of storytelling where the narrative voice fluidly slides into a character's internal thoughts, blurring the line between narrator and subject. This graphic illustrates how it works on the page. One thread is the narrator's ironic distance, and the other is the character's genuine thought. By weaving them together, Austen maintains her sharp judgment while pulling the reader into a space of deep psychological realism. Her sociological precision struck a nerve that resonates centuries later. An author who published her novels anonymously during her lifetime eventually became a global cultural institution. Today, the portrait of that impoverished, unmarried outsider is printed on the British 10-pound note. Her work endures because she cataloged the internal workings of her society with clinical precision, favoring the truth of drawing room politics over easy romanticism. So the next time you encounter an Austen story, look past the grand estates and the marriage proposals. Recognize the brilliant, rebellious teenager laughing at the world, and the fiercely independent woman who refused to be bought by it.